Sharpest Tool is a scripted supernatural drama series that follows three college roommates who unexpectedly find themselves tangled in the twisted web of Solomon University's best-kept secret. One honest mistake changes the course of their lives as they learn the well-worn warnings about the dangers surrounding campus may not be simple superstitions after all. With the finale leaving everyone's fate in the balance, we are left right in the middle of the drama, so, heading into Season 2, we are going to take a moment to reintroduce you to the key players of each faction, the core storylines unveiled throughout the first season, and where everyone left off during the dramatic conclusion to Season 1. If you have never seen Sharpest Tool before, the entire first season is available for you to watch to get every detail. But if you just want the information needed to understand Season 2, or you have seen Season 1 and want a refresher on all that went down, this is a video for you. Without further ado, here's what you missed on Sharpest Tool Season 1. Sharpest Tool focuses on three main leads, Birdie, Maya, and Lynx. Birdie is the charming brainiac, able to make friends with anyone and an IQ high enough to crack even the toughest case. Maya is the quiet nerd who rivals Birdie in brains but would much rather spend the evening with her head in a book than socializing. Lynx is the stoic rebel with a bite just as bad as her bark. She is abrasive and closed off, often out of self-preservation over a genuine disdain for others. Maya and Birdie have been best friends since their middle school days when Birdie saved Maya from a pack of bullies. Maya looks up to Birdie's confidence and is forever grateful to them for being the only one that doesn't tire of her quiet nature and various anxieties, while Birdie appreciates Maya's ability to rival their own intelligence, knowing Maya has a good heart and should be protected at all costs. Lynx is the new addition, starting as just a roommate hitting it off with Birdie while butting heads with Maya, but forming a bond that blossoms to friendship as she accidentally becomes the catalyst for their new life. Early on we meet Axel, Lynx's laid-back, sexy, fun friend, as she describes him, as well as Lynn, a shy but sweet genius fellow science major Birdie meets in class one day, who helps them get outside their own head and see the solutions right underneath their nose. As the main three begin their descent into the school's sordid history, they come across two different factions of vampires: the logical, ordered, official league that operates beneath the school, and the primal, chaotic tribe of ferals that reside in the woods outside the school lines. The league is led by the president of the university, Dmitry Solomon. He's a serious man focused more on the completion of his own goals than truly leading the league to success. Operating as a school counselor and also the vice president of the league is Florence Beasley. Florence is a long-standing member despite her frequent disagreements with Dimitri's philosophies, often taking new members under her wing to help mentor them in controlling their powers and understanding the history of the league. Dimitri's right-hand man is a student named Caesar, relegated to carrying out Dimitri's dirty work and keeping the league hidden, though he is frequently chastised for one thing or another and questions whether he even agrees with the things he's asked to do. The least satisfied member of the league is Caesar's own twin sister Clementine, a hot-headed woman frustrated that her brother has the authority he does when he won't even use it to their advantage, eager to take fate into her own hands. Lena possesses some of the strongest mental control in the league, her calm presence and optimistic demeanor making her a good confidant and ally to those who need one. Blake is Lena's closest friend and the league's strongest physical combatant, a tough yet compassionate trainer who is always ready to break the tension with a joke. Yasmin's strengths lie in spellcasting and the knowledge of lore in the league, and she is desperate to use her skills and confidence to rise above her station. Isaiah does more acting than thinking, largely acting as muscle for the group, but is good at taking orders and being there for his girlfriend Clementine when she needs support. Joseph and Adam are Isaiah's friends from the football team, other low-level members of the league, with enough promise to be brought into the secret plans of those at the top. The Ferals are led by a fiery woman those in the tribe refer to as Mother, but who otherwise goes by Aster. She is headstrong and cunning, possessing a fierce hatred for the League, and a desire to strengthen the powers of her and her tribe by getting in touch with their primal side. Sienna is the foolhardy member, bubbly and charming, great at luring back victims, but not so great at sealing the deal, causing more problems than she solves. Vivian commands more respect than Sienna, intelligent and observant, often working closely with Aster on her plans, doing the footwork to spread the good word of the Ferals to questioning members of the League. Finn is mainly a henchman, one of the fastest vampires of the tribe, and able to do reconnaissance when needed, or catch a victim when they flee. Balthazar provides muscle for the tribe, his charismatic nature helping lure people just as well as Sienna, but his brute strength being called upon when someone turns themselves into a problem. Hero has the brains and brawn of Balthazar, mixed with a more rebellious spirit that lands him in hot water, and unable to escape punishment from Aster any longer. Now it is time to explain more about where the vampires came from, how Birdie, Maya, and Lynx got wrapped up in this mess, and what exactly these characters have gotten up to so far. At the start of our season, we see a student jogging in the edge of campus before she's lured into the forest, only her screams left behind as we head to an old, crumbling house nearby. Formerly the home to a sorority in the 70s, but currently where best friends Maya and Birdie reside. To cover the bills and expenses to keep the old house in order, the two are desperately in need of a new roommate after the last one moved away. People-averse Maya is reluctant to find someone, not confident lightning will strike twice on finding a roommate she likes, and turning most applicants away. Finances getting dire, Birdie has taken matters into their own hands, overhearing a girl in hot yoga bemoan her lack of living quarters and offering her the third bedroom. Knowing it is the only way to get around Maya's high standards and anxiety-based rejections, Birdie surprises Maya with the info that this new roommate will be moving in today, apologizing but emphasizing this is a necessary last resort. The new roommate, Lynx, arrives with her friend Axel, Maya hanging back as Birdie makes chatter. Lynx and Maya have a chilly introduction, Lynx immediately recognizing Maya from an embarrassing old moment from a class they shared, Maya bristling at the judgment and scrutiny that rolls off of Lynx. Maya's frustrations with Lynx only continue in the morning as Lynx steals her granola bars, Lynx delighting in how easy it is to make Maya blush, Birdie making plans to go grocery shopping all together as they hope to help all three of them bond. Heading out to the shops, Lynx steps onto the center sigil of campus, yanking Maya along with her as Maya screeches in protest. There's an old superstition that those who step across the center point of campus are doomed to fail the semester, and Maya doesn't want to take any chances. Lynx teasing her for believing an old wives' tale. Birdie ushers them both along as all three step across the sigil on their way, Birdie fearing that Maya and Lynx are doomed to conflict. Next morning is much the same scene, but this time Lynx throws up the stolen granola bar, both her and Maya chalking it up to a bad batch, Maya pleased with the karma. At class, Birdie is feeling faint in the regular sunny seat, figuring it's due to not eating breakfast, and moving to the front of the class where they meet another student, Lynn. He seems shy at first, but opens up as Birdie strikes a conversation about what he's reading, a news article reporting the disappearance of another student from their campus. Lynx displays impressive reflexes in catching a soccer ball headed straight for her friend. Maya finds herself unable to enter her boss's home without express permission, and Birdie finds themselves thirsting after a nice, rare steak as they bring home 3 cuts for a family dinner. The three ravenously consume the steak, devolving into a game of Never Have I Ever that continues to pit Maya and Lynx at odds. Birdie tells Maya they can get a different roommate, Maya grateful but wanting to stand up for herself. However, as Maya goes to speak with Lynx herself, she finds her growling in her room, eyes shining and skin ashen. Lynx urging Maya to look in the mirror and discover a similar appearance about herself. In this episode, we also meet Dimitri's right-hand man Caesar as he is being chastised for not protecting yet another student from being found dead along the perimeter. Dimitri commenting that it is time to make haste on their new project. Caesar runs into his twin sister Clementine, eager to hear what the headmaster thought of her ideas, only for Caesar to say that he never brought them up, not wanting to push his luck with Dimitri. Though frustrated, Clementine still joins him in the meeting room where Isaiah, Lena, Blake, and Yasmin are all gathered, Caesar bringing them into the headmaster's grand plans. At the start of the second episode, we pick back up with Maya and Lynx hearing Birdie exclaim, the two running upstairs to find a similar new look about Birdie, all three trying to cope in their own ways. Birdie flat out refuses to accept anything is happening, going to sleep as Maya and Lynx begin to try and piece things together. Lynx points out that the sorority this house once belonged to is shut down for unsavory practices, wondering if that could be the cause, while Maya debunks the theory. Lynx spends the night doing research, Birdie still in denial in the morning, taking a sick day and asking Maya to go to the counselor with Lynx to sort out the roommate situation. At the counseling appointment, Lynx gets worked up, her eyes starting to shine as Maya motions for her to calm down, but the counselor Florence notices, asking the two about any strange occurrences lately that strangely do match everything that has happened to them in the previous day. Startled, the girls answer her questions and she sends them off with a meeting time to learn more and some plasma packs she says should quell their hunger in the meantime. Birdie is reluctant but lets Maya and Lynx drag them to the meeting the next night with Florence. She takes the students through a secret passage that leads below the administrative building to give them a tour of the League's headquarters and explain what has happened to them. Florence explains that this school used to be one for magic, the home to many important scrolls that needed protecting. An ancient blood spell was discovered that would turn one into what is commonly known today as a vampire. A League of Protectors was formed, the spell only latching onto the most worthy students. A ritual would be performed on the sigil at the center of school to bestow a student with these vampiric powers in hopes they would be worthy and become one of those that fought to protect the magic knowledge archived on these grounds. However, the League of Protectors was quite dangerous for students, so it was disbanded as magic became hidden knowledge to most. Though they have tried to destroy or obstruct the sigil, its power still remains, the protection magic surrounding it, preventing any tampering whatsoever. Thus, they try and keep people away from it, but sometimes students walk across, the spell takes, and they end up in this situation. Though the League of Protectors no longer exists, a league still does to help those students learn to control and harness their power in a way that protects themselves and others from its dangers. There are some known as ferals that have broken away or were not caught in time that prefer to tap into a more primal nature of their powers, but the League does not associate with them. Largely because the ferals feast on others, and the League's #1 rule is that humans shall not be harmed, especially to sustain oneself. She debunks the myth about not being able to touch crosses, but confirms that human food is a no-no, sun will kill you with prolonged exposure, you need permission to enter places, and strong emotions will bring out the dark side. Each vampire has their strengths and talents, and Florence suggests that they join the League to help learn how to hone these powers and protect themselves in this new life state. As they leave, Maya becomes angry with Lynx, blaming her for putting the three of them in this position, saying she is not moving out, but will stay with them to deal with this problem. Lynx sheepishly agreeing. Soon the three find themselves training with the League, being introduced to a few of the other members and shown the basics of harnessing the strength and agility that come with vampirism. While the training takes everyone's attention, the aqua-haired girl Yasmin pulls Caesar aside, asking if he thinks these newbies would be good candidates to bring into their efforts to rebuild the League of Protectors. In this episode, we also meet the Ferals, seeing Sienna drink from an unsuspecting student on the edge of campus, Aster appearing to yell at her for biting another student after a body was just found, Sienna apologizing as her victim wakes up and flees before Sienna questions Aster about the prophecy as their powers begin to wane. Later, Sienna's victim is tracked down, Aster offering her a place among them or dying there. The girl too stunned to speak as Aster quickly makes a decision for her, snapping her neck and letting the tribe feast on her body. Episode 3 begins a week later as Maya finds that she's quite good at utilizing the mental skills, being introduced to the other strongest mental wielder in the League, Lena. Coincidentally, Lynx finds herself good at physical combat, discovering an old friend of hers named Blake is a member and the perfect candidate to train her in hand-to-hand combat. Birdie does not immediately find a skill, but is more focused on figuring out what is actually happening with them, their scientific mind not accepting magic as an answer. They begin using the lab after hours to examine blood samples, trying to find what has changed within them on a biological level. Lynx runs into Maya and Birdie doing research at the League headquarters, things still being tense after her and Maya's fight, but Lynx speaks up when she notices a picture of their house in one of the books Birdie is reading. Florence overhears and takes the three down into the secret archives, pulling out an old binder including original records of the sorority that were scrubbed from the public files. She explains that an old League member named Diana ran the sorority in the 70s. She did a lot of research for them, but got a bit out of hand with her own experiments, destroying herself when she got caught to preserve the knowledge. Birdie realizes the records show an old floor plan including an attic that they did not know of, Lynx insisting that with newfound vampire strength they can try and pry open the attic's entrance. As Florence leads the three of them out, Clementine is seen sneaking into the archives behind them just as the door is closing. After Lynx and Maya make up enough to keep things civil, the three go on a mission to discover the secret attic, eventually getting it open and finding Diana's old workspace, Birdie's eyes twinkling at all of the research documented up here. Lynx has been enjoying letting out her aggression with training, Maya has appreciated how the League has brought her in and made her feel like she belongs, leaving Birdie the only one left uncertain. But seeing the research and being reminded of the unique resources the League provides, Birdie relents and agrees to join the League with their roommates. Birdie chooses Yasmin as their pledge, Maya chooses Lena, and Lynx chooses Blake, the three members along with Florence and Dimitri helping our leads through the induction ceremony to make them official members of the League. We also see that Yasmin has gone over Caesar's head, contacting Dimitri directly about potentially bringing the new fledglings in on their efforts to reinstate the League of Protectors, him agreeing and asking her to focus on reeling in Birdie. While the induction ceremony comes to a close, Clementine is on the other side of campus meeting with Aster, mentioning that she has access to ancient texts Aster needs to replenish her tribe's powers, as long as they can strike a deal to get her what she wants as well. In episode 4, Birdie becomes enraptured by Diana's old work, poring over her studies, hopeful they can pick up where she left off if they can figure out what exactly she was working to discover. Birdie still wants to figure out what scientifically is happening to them, but the blood work is still proving fruitless, so Diana's research is a much needed, more promising path. Yasmin continues trying to get close to Birdie, wanting to help, but Birdie remains reluctant to share much info with the League, especially with how eager Yasmin seems to learn what information they have gleaned, urging Maya to be cautious with what she says to the League members as well. Dimitri's plans to reinstate the League of Protectors continues on in the background, him having the first official meeting with those involved with the plan, letting Yasmin step forward and introduce the idea of bringing in the fledglings. Lena and Blake seem taken aback, questioning whether it is a good idea before being silenced. Caesar is startled as well, as he was not aware this task was on the agenda beforehand. With Birdie preoccupied, Maya and Lynx have more time to bond, slowly becoming less hostile towards one another and hanging out whenever Lynx does not have to jet off to her mysterious job. The two spend plenty of time training with Lena and Blake as well, the four of them going out for plasma-covered froyo, Lena showing off some of the fun you can have with the mental powers, like reading the minds of passerbys. Blake begins asking Maya and Lynx what they thought of Florence's telling of the League of Protectors, but Lena cuts him off, wanting to keep the conversation light. Clementine continues to work out her deal with Aster, bringing the tome Aster covets to the camp as Aster summons the tribe member who attacked the girl by the perimeter a few weeks ago, a guy named Hero. She says that it's time to pay for his mistakes, handing him off to Clementine, who takes him to the League, interrupting a meeting between Dimitri and Florence to say she has captured a feral for questioning. Much to Florence's horror, Dimitri agrees to tie the feral boy up in the basement of the headquarters for questioning. After Florence and Dimitri leave, Clementine confirms with Hero that she will bring him pouches of real blood to keep him well fed as long as he pretends to be captive. Back with the ferals, it seems Aster has made quick work of the tome, the tribe surrounding an unconscious student as Aster stands above him with a dagger, reading off the tome from Clementine. It shall be then, once trees shed their leaves, a child in red shall bring the rise of what was forgotten. The day stars fall from the sky, the guilty shall mark the rise of a kingdom. A sudden death shall bring forth the rise of hope and a strengthening of bonds. The day lion and bear live together, the scarred child shall cause the end of leadership and the end of wealth. Once summer ends, the accused shall bring an era of health and the rise of hope, before plunging the dagger into the unconscious body below. Episode 5 begins with Balthazar luring another student into the woods, drinking deeply. Aster close by to make sure the student does not wake up until morning. However, the victim awakens slowly soon after with his memory intact, Finn being sent after him as Aster curses the fact that the ritual clearly did not work and their powers are still just as weak as before. Birdie remains consumed by research, spending every waking hour either studying their own blood for any trace of something different or poring over Diana's old notes. In class, Lynn provides an unconventional solution to a brain teaser, him explaining to Birdie that he's always been good at looking at things from a different angle than others. Thinking a different perspective might be what they need at this point, Birdie agrees to let Lynn help them with their personal project as long as he doesn't ask any questions about where the slides he is studying are from. Working together more closely, Birdie and Lynn realize they have a lot in common and begin talking a lot outside of the lab as well. One night, as Lynn discusses a baby genius moment of his, it sparks an idea in Birdie and they abruptly hang up the phone, rushing to their stack of Diana's notes, it clicking that Diana was trying to figure out a way for vampires to eat human food. Maya and Lynx have begun casually bantering more than fighting, but the banter leads to bets, Lynx unknowingly awakening the competitive side that Maya tries to keep under wraps since she knows it can get out of hand quickly. Birdie comes across the two racing, reminding Maya that getting back into betting is a bad idea as all three of them are approached by one of the ferals, Vivian, who recognizes their extreme speed as supernatural, suggesting they come talk to her at the perimeter if they ever get tired of listening to the League's orders. Yasmin takes Birdie, Maya, Lynx, Lena, and Blake out to the club to relax for a night, aiming to get Birdie drunk enough to spill some details on their work. Birdie realizes what Yasmin is trying to do and deliberately tries to keep things closed off, but the alcohol combined with how distracted Birdie has been, they accidentally let it slip that they have found and have been studying Diana's old research. At the club, Lynx and Maya's betting war comes to a head as Lynx bets she can get more numbers from people than her, Maya unexpectedly winning, but her confidence shaking when she realizes that her mental powers are so strong she was actually accidentally using some vampiric beguiling on others to persuade them. At the League, Dimitri holds a meeting with all of the members, alerting them to the fact that they have a feral prisoner. Clementine ready to be recognized, but Dimitri taking full credit for the achievement, boasting about his measures to keep everyone safe. When Clementine tries to speak up, Dimitri locks eyes with her, Clementine's throat suddenly burning as she slumps against her chair, unable to speak. Horrified and shocked by what just happened, Florence flees to her office, Clementine bursting in after to ask why she never seems upset. Florence explains that she is, but she's learned to not fly off the handle when things upset her, something that Clementine should learn herself. With a final quip about Florence not knowing as much as she thinks, Clementine leaves to get Hero's blood pouches from Aster, venting about the meeting as Aster says she never understood why Clementine didn't leave the League along with her. But there's always a place for her with the tribe if she gets fed up. Episode 6 begins with Yasmin bringing Dimitri a duffel bag of strange supplies per his request, informing him of the tidbit about Diana's research she gathered from Birdie. Maya is really missing Birdie now that they spend every hour at the lab, Birdie apologizing and saying that they will be around more soon, but they're just too close to an answer to stop now. Leaving Lynn to work on the blood samples, Birdie dedicates all their time to Diana's research. Yasmin shows up at the lab, Birdie frustrated that the girl would take things far enough to bother them here and ushering her out. Suspicious of how closely Yasmin continues to monitor them, Birdie seeks out the ferals alone, finding Vivian again, and meeting Aster, being told how the ferals live in the forest and don't shift out of dark form, but they have powers beyond what the League can provide, and that the League is kind of a dictatorship that gets rid of anyone who disobeys. Aster mentions that she hopes to see Birdie again as they leave. Hoping to shed some further light on Diana's work in the lab, Birdie tries one last thing and cracks the case, creating a serum that allows them to taste human food without feeling nauseous. Hugging Lynn in celebration despite him having no idea what they are celebrating. At the League, Clementine attempts to bring Hero his blood, but is stopped by Caesar, who has been ordered to keep her out of the interrogation room. Clementine flies off the handle about how he obeys the headmaster so much he can't even stick up for his own sister, leaving him a bit ashamed as he lets her enter the room. Hearing their argument outside, Hero needles at Clementine, mentioning that he knows of Aster's offer for her to join the tribe through the mental link that he has set up with Aster. Clementine is shocked knowing that that is an incredibly taxing power to utilize, but Hero says feats like that aren't so taxing when fully feeding oneself. Conflicted, but tempted, Clementine follows Hero's urging and takes her first sip of human blood. Meanwhile, Lynx is helping Maya improve her physical combat skills in their free time, while Maya's mental skills are improving exponentially. Dimitri discovers Maya achieving dark meditation for the first time, praising a fledgling for achieving that feat, asking about the proposal Lena has brought to her. Maya's confusion at his question leaves Lena scared and stuttering as Blake steps in to take blame for deciding to keep the plans secret from them. Dimitri displeased and Florence secretly listening the whole time. On high alert at this point, Florence heads to the archives to do some studying of her own. Following a hunch and feeling her heart sink as she checks the locked cabinet of the sacred dark magic tomes to discover that a handful of the spell scrolls are missing. Rushing out of the room, she runs into a nauseous-looking Caesar bursting from the interrogation room, trying to ask if he is alright, but him vehemently insisting that he trusts the headmaster's processes, even through his clear panic. Florence suggests that he doesn't have to agree with whatever is happening in there as Caesar storms off, leaving Florence more worried than ever. In the end, Aster pours over the prophecy tome herself, Sienna babbling on, explaining why they chose the victim for the ritual that they did, thinking that his football scar qualified him. Aster ponders the use of child in the text and says that she has an idea of who the prophecy might actually be referring to. The second to last episode of the season, we see Isaiah bringing two lower-level League members by the names of Joseph and Adam to Dimitri's attention. Hoping to grow the ranks of those who will reinstate the League of Protectors, Dimitri somehow forces out Caesar's dark form, forcing him to battle with the new guys to prove they are worthy of this role. Florence later comes across the two, bloody and battered, asking what happened, not believing Joseph and Adam's conflicting excuses. To further add to her suspicions, she finds Yasmin leaving the archives and locking up, Yasmin saying that Dimitri gave her a set of keys, Florence steeling herself right then and there to figure out what exactly is going on these days. Seeing how far Maya has come with the mental abilities, and having a bad feeling about where things with the League are headed, Florence pulls Maya into her office to explain that vampires can set up mental links with one another to telepathically communicate. It is taxing, but she would like to set up a link with Maya, taking on most of the mental drain herself, so that Maya can get in touch with her if anything should go awry. And Maya agrees. After having her first taste of human blood, Clementine has been feeling weak, and she succumbs to Hero's pressure once more, drinking an entire pouch of real blood this time, feeling her senses come alive. However, Dimitri catches her, Clementine flying into dark form immediately as he throws her out of the room and up against a wall without ever even touching her, tossing her aside and saying this is the last straw, and the next time she's insubordinate, he will end her life. Fully fed up, Clementine seeks out Aster and accepts her offer to join the feral tribe instead. Birdie shares their stunning discovery with Maya and Lynx, giving them the serum they created and letting all three of them indulge in human food for the first time in quite a while. Lynx suggests that they go to Axel's party at the end of that week to celebrate, Birdie all for it, and Maya eventually being goaded into agreeing to join. At the party, Birdie lets loose, hooking up with a random girl as Maya urges them to have fun and not have to babysit her all night. Staying by Lynx's side instead, Lynx makes a comment to her other friends about how Maya is just a nerd she's living with. Tipsy and embarrassed, Maya storms off, Lynx quickly following and calling out after her. The two get into a heated argument, Maya lamenting how Lynx has just been playing civil, of course, feeling stupid for believing they might even be friends, as she cuts herself off again to stomp home. Lynx gets defensive, urging Maya to not walk home alone at night as Maya sarcastically mentions she can just bite anyone who tries to mess with her. Lynx insists that Maya has been getting into the vampire thing too, and Maya turns back around in dark form this time, spitting out that she may be leaning into her studies, but that doesn't mean she's happy about being a monster now. With that, Lynx lets her go, Birdie finding Lynx on the porch and asking what happened. Lynx confused that the ribbing set Maya off, thinking it was clearly playful teasing. Birdie tells her to just apologize and be more clear, that Maya needs things laid out a lot more directly. On the way home, Birdie does a lap around campus to make sure Maya isn't still out wandering, but they come across Aster as the sun starts to rise. Drunk and startled by her, Birdie jumps into dark form, Aster's eyes widening as she takes in their appearance, studying their vampiric visage and commenting on Birdie's unique, unearned cheek scars. Sienna approaches Aster with an update on the prophecy research as Birdie leaves, Aster quickly cutting her off, saying she might have just found what they needed. In the finale episode of Season 1, we see Florence head to the Cabinet of Dark Tomes yet again, finding even more missing. Making a decision, she shoves the remaining ones into her bag and relocks the cabinet. The morning after the party, Lynx is awkward with Maya, wanting to apologize but not quite finding the words. Maya is still upset as she leaves for the day, but her resolve softens as Lynx tags her in a Simstagram post that refers to Maya and Birdie as her friends. Things are much less chilly between the two as they meet up at Birdie's lab, Birdie asking for blood samples from them to help further their research. Just as Birdie is explaining that they have to get a sample by cutting their palms with one of the only materials able to cut a vampire's skin, silver, Yasmin appears yet again. Birdie stands off with Yasmin, telling her off and saying that they aren't friends, Yasmin all but threatening Birdie to watch how they talk to those close to the top. Dimitri takes Yasmin to the archives, heading towards the Cabinet of Dark Tomes, saying there is one more piece he wants to add to their arsenal before calling them ready, flying into a rage as he sees that all of the tomes are now missing. Yasmin thinks quick and blames their disappearance on Birdie. Aster asks Clementine for more information on Birdie, of which Clementine does not have much more, but she does mention that Dimitri has called a meeting with those he wants to restart the League of Protectors with tonight. Aster tells her to attend and gather as much information as she can. At the meeting, Dimitri tells them that Birdie has stolen the Dark Tomes, startling Lena and Blake, who try to speak up for their friend, but being quickly silenced as Dimitri urges them to find Birdie and the tomes and deliver both of them to his doorstep, though he asks Caesar to stay behind. Dimitri takes him to the interrogation room, Hero looking quite broken at this point. Dimitri's patience clearly worn thin as Hero still refuses to give up many answers. Dimitri retrieves a shining silver dagger, handing it to Caesar and telling him to prove that he still cares about being his right-hand man. Caesar hesitates, saying that the League doesn't kill people, but Dimitri insists that this is a feral, not a person. Too scared by Dimitri's yelling to try and rebel, Caesar takes a deep breath and plunges the dagger into Hero's chest. As everyone leaves the meeting, Blake urges Lena to go to Florence, saying he will go to the pledges. Lena tells Florence everything that has been happening, while Blake arrives at Birdie, Maya, and Lynx's home, alerting them that the League is after Birdie, urging them to flee as soon as possible. Birdie makes plans to go hide out with the ferals, and despite Maya and Lynx's protests, they say that this is the one place the League won't think to look for them. However, Birdie runs into Aster quite quickly, Clementine hitting them over the head with a bottle as her and Aster drag Birdie away to their camp. Just as Dimitri makes his way back to the office, Florence storms in, yelling at him about reinstating the League of Protectors, venting that they were disbanded because the last huge battle wiped out half of the university, taking decades to rebuild and vow an oath of pacifism to protect those that fell to this curse, Dimitri refusing to explain himself. Florence then goes on to berate him about the Dark Tomes, saying that the infernal magic is locked away for a reason, but clearly he has been dabbling in it since that silencing trick he pulled with Clementine the other day is not something she's ever seen before. Refusing to stand by his decisions, Florence places her keys on the table and goes to leave, Dimitri stopping her, saying she can't just walk away, as the two transform into their dark forms and lunge at one another. After not receiving a "I'm safe" text from Birdie as they promised, Maya and Link decide to seek out the ferals for themselves and make sure Birdie is alright. The two duck behind a tree at seeing the members of the tribe out on patrol. Lynx urges Maya to slap her to tap into her dark form, Maya doing it and using her stronger mental prowess to adopt the dark form herself, attempting to contact Florence through the mental link as she does, but not getting anything back. The two rush out to fight their way to Birdie, but Maya, being a weaker fighter than Lynx, finds herself preoccupied and not noticing Balthazar running towards her with a blade. Knocking out Finn, Lynx sees first, screaming and darting forward, jumping in front of Maya as the blade sinks into her stomach instead. Maya cries out as she sees red, finding an untapped power as she knocks out Balthazar before dropping to cradle Lynx's body in her arms. Birdie awakens tied to a tree, confused to see Clementine before them sharpening a silver blade, Aster explaining to Birdie that there is a prophecy that those who drink blood might weaken one day, but that a chosen one has the ability to bring their strength back. She says that she has figured it out, that the lack of gender being mentioned in the text was a clue, and that the scars on Birdie's cheeks seal the deal, knowing that Birdie is the key to fulfilling the prophecy. Aster begins to say that she likes Birdie, but if they need to be sacrificed to restore her powers, then she'll do so. But she cuts herself off as she feels her mental link with Hero go quiet, snapping at Clementine, who says she has no idea what is happening at the League, but she can go find out. Aster says she needs her here for the ritual, though, and begins chanting the words of the prophecy once more as she raises the dagger high above her head, bringing it right down towards Birdie. At the end of Season 1, the fate of many is left up in the air. Birdie is captured by the ferals on the verge of being sacrificed by Aster to fulfill the prophecy she believes will restore the strength of their powers. Lynx has been stabbed after jumping in front of Balthazar's blade to save Maya from the same fate. Maya is weeping on the forest floor as she cradles Lynx's unconscious form. Dimitri is out for blood after finding the Dark Tomes missing, suspecting Birdie is the culprit. Florence has quit the League after learning the extent of Dimitri's plans, last seen entering an intense battle with the headmaster himself. Caesar has just killed for the first time at Dimitri's order, left to question himself as he takes care of the body. Clementine has joined the feral tribe, aiding Aster's plans. Isaiah, Joseph, and Adam are on the hunt for Birdie and the Dark Tomes per Dimitri's request. Lena and Blake are doing what they can to protect Birdie from being found by the League, worried what will happen to all of the fledglings if they are. Yasmin is pleased with herself for pinning the Dark Tome theft on Birdie, awaiting further promotions from Dimitri. Aster is upset by her mental link with Hero fading, indicating his death, but more focused on the ritual sacrifice of Birdie that should restore her tribe's power. Hero has been killed by Caesar per Dimitri's request. Finn has been knocked out by Lynx before she lunged to save Maya. Balthazar has been knocked out by Maya after stabbing Lynx. And Sienna and Vivian, along with the other pharaohs, remain patrolling their campsite to make sure nothing stops Mother's ritual. Will Birdie, Lynx, and Maya all make it out of the feral camp alive? And even if they do, what does their fate with the League hold for them as the hunt for Birdie is in full force? How did the fight between Florence and Dimitri turn out? Will Yasmin and Clementine earn the respect they crave or be destined to second rung for eternity? Will Caesar continue to be a soldier or will his conscience win out? These questions and many more are left to be answered as the story remains unfinished. With tension still high, there is much at stake as lines of allegiances continue to blur and some new faces throw a spanner in the mix. All this and more is in store as the drama continues on an all-new season of Sharpest Tool, premiering January 7th at 9 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/Rosina18. See you there!